Let's try that again. Good morning, everybody. Oh, yay. Okay, thank you. So I'm Janice Lapina, and I want to welcome all of you to our weekly FEBE meeting, sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts from across the street. Just real quick, I want to let everybody know that after Craig is done presenting, if you're able to stick around, please do so, because we have a student with us, Joe Owens, that's going to be presenting to you information that he's going to be actually competing in a couple weeks in representing LCC. So we want him to present to you, and please provide feedback. 1 week? Oh, geez. Where's March, right? So please provide him with constructive criticism, whether, we want to see the positive and the negative. But that said, I'm going to actually introduce things over to Craig, and he's going to talk to you about being an entrepreneur and getting into the marketing topic. So, Craig?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. How's everybody doing? Good, yeah. So I was a little thrown off because I thought it was going to be geared towards mostly college students. So now that there's, other entrepreneurs and stuff, I'm going to tailor my spiel a little bit towards, a little bit different angle here. But my name is Craig Sturgill. I'm 26. I'm based out of Medina. My wife is right here supporting me, Brittany. And so basically, I'm just going to go through. A little bit about my main focus when I was going to talk towards college students was more about some of the lessons that I learned in starting a business and how I got to where I am today, basically. So now that there's some more entrepreneurs in the room, I'm heavily involved in the marketing space, so I'm going to spend maybe a little bit more time actually going through my marketing business and maybe giving you a little bit of information and ideas that may be able to benefit your business as well. So the first thing, sort of ironic, I actually went to LCC myself. I didn't really like school a lot, but I went to school because I knew it was something that could benefit me, and it would be an accomplishment. Nobody could ever take that away from me. So there's actually I forget the name of the building, but we come in off of Burns Road. And I remember coming to school every day, passing that building, some professional building, wishing I just had a job working in there rather than sitting in a classroom. So it was kind of ironic, today just going down the same way that I used to come here to school every day, passing that building, now finally being, 10 steps ahead. And it's all those visualization moments, I think, that are awesome as an entrepreneur to actually see sometimes just, in a blink of an eye, some success. So the next thing I sort of really thought about a lot what clothes I was going to wear today. I was going to wear, a t-shirt and jeans and tennis shoes, and then I was going to wear a suit, and then I was going to wear different things. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to wear. I'm happy I wore what I did, but the reason why I say that is because I always had this envision when I was, a kid or younger, that in order to be, a business person or whatever, you had to wear a suit and tie to work every day. And the more I grew through different businesses and met people higher up at different, organizations, the more I realized they're just normal people that wear, normal clothes. And when I first started in business, I would actually wear, dress pants and a dress shirt every day, even though I worked out of my, a little apartment with no windows. Nobody could see me. I was in a little corner, but I would still put on the dress shoes, the dress pants, and the dress shirt every day because I wanted to get myself, mentally in the work mode. So a lot of what you do is about setting the right, expectations for yourself and understanding there's a difference between your personal life and your business life. And if you start to get a little bit too, comfortable or lazy, then you're not going to be moving in the right direction. So again, my goal today is to sort of go through, again, where I came from, how I started, and how I got to where I am today. And nothing that I say today I'm, trying to brag or talk about success, but rather just share my story in hopes to help motivate, every one of you, whether you're at the top, whether you're just starting, whether you're somewhere in the middle. Everybody can be better. People even at the top can be better. So hopefully, even if you can take, one nugget of advice that I might share with you today that I learned, hopefully everybody can be better. So I remember I had Mr. Coleskin, I don't think he's in here, but I had him as my business law teacher. He was always one of my favorite teachers. I don't know exactly why, but he always just stuck out to me in my mind. And I remember the first day of our business law class, everybody sat down, and he asked everybody to take out a piece of paper. So we get out a piece of paper, and he asked everybody, just simply write down on the piece of paper what color the ceiling is. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I write down white. And, he gives us 5 minutes. Everybody's, starting to look around at each other. And after 5 minutes, he says, okay, I'm going to go one by one and ask each of you, what color you wrote down. So, let's say I wrote down white. Then they go to the person behind me, they write gray. The person behind them writes white with black dots, and so on. And basically half of the room had different answers, what they perceived that ceiling color to be. So his tie-in with that, specifically with law, was that, everybody might see the same thing, or the law may be written the same way, but everybody perceives things differently. And your perception, is pretty much everything. The way you look at things, the way you interpret things. And that was just sort of a small example I wanted to share because, again, he was my teacher here and I'm back speaking. But I always thought that was an important lesson that literally crosses my mind probably a few times a year when people see things differently, but it's the same thing. And perception can change, everything. And depending on how you look at things, can really make a difference. So that was sort of a fun story. So I guess just to sort of start off, I'm going to start, when I was sort of a child and then go through my years, basically, again, to where I am today. So when I was a child, I was always very creative. I always loved taking apart, 5 or 6 years old, I would take apart, the TV remote control or my remote control cars or, my mom would get mad, but I would take apart everything in the house, unscrew it, look at the motherboard, the wires, rip wires off, just because I wanted to learn how everything was built. I wanted to know why it did what it did. So I was always inquisitive, and I was always wanting to learn more, and I was always wanting to make things better or improve, what was already there. You don't always need to reinvent the wheel to make something, but rather improve the wheel. So, I've always had so many ideas in business, and when I first started, I love Shark Tank. I'd always watch Shark Tank. There was, I think it was Mark Cuban or Robert Herjavec. I think it was Robert Herjavec, but he asked somebody a question. He said, what's more important in business? Is it your idea or your execution? And, that's right when I first got started in business, and I didn't know the answer very clearly, but the answer was the execution. And I always had all these great ideas or ideas that I thought would be million-dollar ideas, but it doesn't matter what idea you have. It matters how well you execute on those ideas. That's why somebody with, a bad product, but with great marketing can be extremely successful because they know how to get their product out there, and they know how to market it, and they know how to make sales, and they know how to get customers. Again, even if it's not the best product. Whereas somebody else who has maybe the most fantastic product in the world, but doesn't have that go-getter attitude, doesn't have the drive, or doesn't have, what it takes to go and try to get that product to people's doors, they're not going to be successful, even if it's the best product in the world, because they don't have the customers to sell it to. So, you really need to be good at what you do, and it's the execution of what you do which is going to be your success. So it's not always those ideas and the creativeness that I had when I was a kid. That's great, and if you can combine great execution with a great idea, that's a formula for a great business. But if you just constantly think of ideas and you try something and put a little bit of effort into something and it doesn't work, and you think, okay, maybe that idea wasn't good, then you go and you try something else, you're constantly going to be spinning your wheels trying different things, and probably none of them is going to be successful. So for me, I had that same, flawed thinking, basically, that I thought it was my great ideas, and I still on my phone I have a list of 30 ideas that I think are great ideas, but those ideas are not going to be successful. It's my drive and commitment to those ideas and, my passion that's going to be successful. So, my brother right now, he's trying to start an insurance business, which is, sort of how I got started. And one of his flaws is he always starts things, but he doesn't finish them. He recently joined the military 6 months ago. He's locked in for 6 months. So I'm like, hey, you can't get out of this one. But, I think it's when you learn how to push yourself through through those hard times is where you're going to be successful. And now now that he's in the military, and I can see a change of his thought process. Again, trying to start his insurance business now, and I always try to motivate him and encourage him that push yourself through to the end, and when it gets hard, that's where you need to push yourself extra hard, because that's the difference between success and failure. So I'm just going to briefly summarize my 4 businesses, and then my primary business right now is an online marketing company. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about that, because I think that hopefully will probably with the audience I have will be one of the more important discussions that maybe you can benefit from. Does anybody do anything in the online marketing space, or generate, advertise online for their business? Show of hands. A couple. Okay, great. So the first business I started, I was actually in high school, and before that, I worked for a masonry company, building basements and mixing concrete. I was never scared, to do hard work. I poured 5 gallons of gas into a mixer and it exploded. Had second-degree burns all over my arm, my face, and stupid enough, I went back to the same company the following year and did the job over again. I wasn't scared, whatever. But after a month or two, I was like, this is just. I did it for 3 summers prior to that. So anyways, I'm like, this is just probably not the best route for me to go. So I started looking for other jobs. I applied at literally McDonald's, Burger King, all these different places, and had a great resume, typed it up. Nobody would hire me. I don't know if I was overqualified. I only had a high school degree, so I don't know how I was overqualified, but I may not even had a high school degree at that point. I was still in school. But basically, I filled out applications to all these different businesses that I thought would be, hey, I'm going to submit my application, I'll get hired tomorrow. Nobody called me back. I followed up. Nobody wanted to hire me. I went to Home Depot. They don't want to hire me. And I'm like, what's going on here? So I decided to start an auto detailing business, which was small, but that was my first, round of entrepreneurship. So basically, I did some research online, pricing. I love cars, so I figured, hey, if I can make money cleaning cars and basically doing what I do to my own car, if I can make money doing this on my own schedule, this is going to be great. So I'm going to get some water here. I'm also a little dry. Well, it was the gasoline compartment, obviously. Had to refuel it. So, anyways, yeah. So with the auto detailing, so I decided to get flyers, print business cards. I made a sign, painted the letters on. It took me 5 hours to make, but painted the letters on this big sign and put it in the front yard. I went to all the local businesses that I could go to, gas stations, convenience stores, mom and pop restaurants that had little billboards, and I would post my brochures and business cards on there, and I would start calling around anybody I knew that might want to get an auto detail, family, friends, anybody who I thought may be able to use me. So at first it was a little challenging to get it rolling. I got a couple cars here and there, and I was charging on average around $200 a car, and I started to get more and more business coming in, and I was doing probably at sometimes 3 or 4 cars a week. So making, $600 or $800 a week auto detailing on my own schedule, doing something I loved, people coming to me was sort of opening my eyes to entrepreneurship. And again, I never really scaled that business up. It was sort of something I did in the meantime because I wanted to, because I couldn't find a job. But I always knew I wanted to have my own business, and that was my first, sort of go around. And again, it really opened my eyes to entrepreneurship. Not only the money aspect that you could make more money, but you could do something that you love on your own time. Opened my eyes to many different aspects of, becoming an entrepreneur. So anyways, that sort of, I ran that for a little while, sort of did a couple cars here and there after I didn't have a lot of time, which sort of gave me a little extra spending cash while I was going through college. And again, enrolled in Lorain Community College in 2008, graduated in 2010. And while I was still going to college, I decided I wanted to start an insurance agency. Previous, probably 4 or 5 years prior to that, I had the insurance idea in my head. My uncle was an insurance agent. He had a nationwide agency. He did primarily property and casualty, so like home insurance, car insurance, that sort of thing. And he had a good lifestyle, and that idea came in my head. But so I had the idea of insurance in my head, but I didn't know exactly what line of insurance I wanted to get into, whether that was, again, auto and home or life insurance, health insurance, whatever it may be. So as I enrolled in college, my first year, I needed to get more serious and figure out, hey, what exactly am I going to do for my business, for my career? Am I going to work somewhere? Am I going to, what am I going to do? So again, my first year of college, I really pressed myself to figure out what it is that I wanted to do for my life, and researched all the different types of insurance. And I love reading stuff online. I read forums, and almost every business I've started today, I've literally learned through forums. It doesn't take special knowledge. It doesn't take a genius. If you want to do something, go online, invest your time in research. I would spend multiple hours a day literally just reading on forums, talking to people who've done it before, and I came across Medicare supplement insurance. So basically a Medicare supplement is, somebody who's on Medicare, a Medicare supplement plan would help fill in the gaps that Medicare doesn't fully cover. So, I started calling some local people, local agents, asking them about Medicare supplement insurance and if they had any tips or advice. And 9 out of 10 people had no idea what I was even talking about. The people that did know said, why do you want to dabble with seniors? Why do you want to get into that space? And so I decided, for me, it was a low startup cost to get involved in that line of insurance. That was the primary reason I decided to go with that. But I also loved working with people, which is the main reason I wanted to get into insurance. I love working with people, and I've always had a special place in my heart for seniors and older people that a lot of people take advantage of. And I wanted to be there, that young guy that could be there and help them and be a valuable resource. So a semester before I graduated, I had all my ducks in a row and planned to start my insurance agency. And I literally had $500 to my name at that point. I was living in an apartment that was actually rent-free. I just paid utilities my father had owned. And he was sort of supporting me to get started, but, by giving me free rent, basically. So I had $500 to my name, and I was so confident that I could start this business, and I knew I was going to do whatever it took to make it successful. Those same forums I was talking about, reading online, people give you, advice. There was also, 95% of the people who were negative. They would say, oh, you're crazy. You have no money. You have no experience. You have no knowledge. You're young. There's no way you're ever going to make that work. But I didn't care what any of them said, and if anything, it actually gave me more inspiration to prove them wrong that I was going to be successful. So I had to plan everything very precisely because I had very limited money, and obviously you have to do marketing, you have to spend money to make money. So what I started was telemarketing. So I bought a list from a company of 1,000 names and phone numbers of consumers that were between age 68 years old and 79 years old who made between $20,000 and $80,000 a year within, an hour and a half radius from my house. And then I got, and again, I didn't have any money, so I went and got to AT&T, and I got a cell phone with unlimited minutes 1 week before I started cold calling to telemarket. And I had all this stuff planned out, ready to go. And the day I, decided to start selling, I jumped straight into it, and I started calling. I'd call 100 people every day or more until, I started making money. And, it was a little rough the first week, but eventually I made my first sale, then I made 2 sales, then I made 4, and then I made 10, and then I made 50. And I basically scaled up from there. And, again, I had no money at first, so it was difficult. But for me, telemarketing was the cheapest way that I could get into business. Yeah, it was a lot of work and a lot of sweat, and it would get boring. But I knew I had to start somewhere, and I didn't want to work for somebody. I wanted to work for myself. So I believed in myself, so unrelentlessly, and I was willing to do literally whatever it took in order to be successful. I remember, numerous times it would be a Saturday or a Sunday, and somebody would call me back in the middle of a restaurant at dinner, with my wife or fiance, girlfriend at that time. And I would get up, I would answer the phone, I would walk outside, I'd say, hey, thanks for calling me. Can I call you back Monday? I did whatever it took to be as productive as I could and not let a sale slip through the cracks. So basically, I end up building that business, and I did telemarketing for a year and a half, and then I started. I was driving hour and a half each way on appointments, 2-3 hour round trip, and I got tired of doing that, and I said, there has to be a more effective way for me to make sales rather than calling 100 people every day on the phone, driving 3 hours, spending all my time driving, getting back. There's got to be a better way to do this. So I started buying what they call internet leads, and a lead is something that can be used in any business. A lead is basically just somebody that's interested in your product. So an insurance lead in my case was an internet insurance lead, specifically, was a consumer who went online, found a website that another advertising marketing company was promoting, and that consumer would go online searching for Medicare insurance in this case. They would fill out a form online requesting a quote, and that marketing company that had the website would sell that consumer's information to me so I could call that person and try to make a sale. So that was sort of a turning point, because basically with an internet lead, that consumer went online because they're interested in buying an insurance policy and they're looking to compare options. They're the one who made that initial inquiry. Whereas for me, when I was cold calling, I literally was calling random people trying to get them to buy insurance that never even specifically requested a quote. So it was much more efficient, and I was able to, because they requested the quote online, I know they had a computer and an email address, so these people typically were more sophisticated, and I was able to communicate with them over the phone and start selling policies telephonically or over the phone. So basically, I started sort of intermixing my cold calling with my, lead purchasing, and eventually switched over 100% to telesales, selling policies over the phone. I expanded my license from just Ohio to being licensed in 40 different states, and started buying a lot of leads. So then I got to the point, I'm an opportunistic person. I think as an entrepreneur, we're all opportunistic. For me, I realized just starting one business, when I was in college and I started my insurance business, I thought I was going to do that for the rest of my life. But I realized my true passion is starting businesses and, getting to a successful exit point. And I'm still, that's my goal for the rest of my life, is to continue to build businesses. So with the insurance business, I saw an opportunity with the leads that I was purchasing to, hey, why don't I start my own website? Why don't I try to generate my own leads instead of paying somebody to do this for me? Hey, I can save money, be more profitable, it just makes sense. So I invested some, probably 6 months or a year on and off as I was still selling, into learning online marketing, search engine optimization, how to grow your website traffic, and all those different areas. And I basically started generating my own insurance leads. And SEO, search engine optimization, is basically just a way that you can promote your website to get higher up on Google. And there's two different kind of advertisements on Google, or two different, listings. There's paid search and there's organic search. So organic search is free. Literally, if you know how to promote your website, you can get your website to show up higher and higher on Google without spending, money necessarily to do that. Some people hire, optimization experts to do that, but if you know how to do it and you can learn, you can do it for free, especially if you're not in a very competitive business. Maybe you do like pet grooming in Elyria, maybe there's not a lot of competition, maybe you can rank higher. So anyways, insurance was a competitive space, but I learned how to do search engine optimization and rank my website on Google basically for free. So now I was literally getting free insurance leads, selling policies, and not spending a dime to get those people. I took a big leap around that time, and I spent $7,000 to get a website developed for me. But I was so confident, and at that time that was a lot of money to me. My car was falling apart, but I knew the business would give me a new car. So I put the money into my website, and again, kept developing the lead generation for my business. Then I saw an opportunity to, hey, it actually looks like a more scalable business to start a lead generation company and literally sell leads to people instead of selling insurance. I was already getting more leads than I could handle myself, and I was selling the excess leads to other businesses so they could market their insurance products. So after a year or so of planning, me and my partner that's based out of Miami, we started a lead generation business, literally generating Medicare leads online, already what I was doing, but on a much bigger level. We started generating leads. He had a lot more technology, marketing experience than I did, and I had all the business development and sales experience, which he was sort of lacking. And he's Russian. He's about 30 years old, but he came here from Russia when he was 18. Had a very thick accent, couldn't speak very well. He's intelligent, but we basically had the opposite strengths that each other was looking for in a business partner. And we just, we actually found each other connected online. He was trying to sell me insurance leads for my business, and I was trying to start a lead generation company. So we're like, hey, why don't we test out a business together, trying to start a lead generation company. We're both trying to do the same thing. Let's try it out and see how it works. So basically, for about a year, we tested the business module to have, a proof of concept and see if there was something viable there that we were able to make of this. And long story short, it was extremely successful in the first year, and that's what we're doing today. We're generating insurance leads. So basically, we have multiple websites. We're advertising different products online. Right now, health, Medicare, and final expense insurance. And we're basically selling these leads to insurance agencies nationwide that can market these insurance products. We do a little bit different in the industry. We focus really heavily on very high quality leads, and we work with mostly large agencies and call centers across the country. We don't really work with independent agents, but we work with these call centers that have 200-300 agents on the phone selling, so we're able to scale our business and grow. So when I first started that lead generation business, though, with my partner Alex, right around that starting stage, sort of go back, and I was so confident in myself, and I think that confidence is what you need in any business. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe you're going to be successful, you're not going to be. If you want to be a millionaire, you want to make $10 million a year, $100,000 a year, $50,000, whatever it is that your goal is, you need to think, act, and breathe that life every single day, because that's the only way that you're going to reach that goal. If you want to make $1 million, but you're thinking like like you're making $50,000 a year, or you're thinking negative thoughts, you're not going to reach those goals. So whatever goal that it is that you aspire, you need to think and breathe that way for it to ever become a reality. And at that time when we were doing the lead generation business, I literally thought about contacting MTV or different production companies, and I wanted to make a TV show about how to go from 0 to $1 million in 12 months flat. And I believed in myself so much, but I didn't really want the publicity, and I never sort of carried on with that. But I say this because that's the kind of mental, motivation that I had. I knew for sure, without a doubt, I was going to make it happen, regardless of what it took. And so we started the business, and we exceeded that goal. And when we reached the goal, I never look back unless I'm trying to see how far I came. But it's such a satisfying feeling when you set a goal and you reach or exceed that goal. So basically, and then after that, then I started, which I still manage, started a property management company, have a few rental properties, and we're scaling that up. It's sort of a retirement kind of vehicle for me. But basically, throughout this whole process, there's so many different lessons that I learned, and I just really quickly want to go through some of those lessons that I think were extremely valuable in learning, which took me a lot of time, blood, sweat, and money to learn these lessons. And some of them you may already know, some you may not. Some you may have heard of this before, but you never think deeper. Something as simple as goals. Everybody knows what a goal is. But I always heard the word goal. Set a goal, okay, great. But until you actually learn what a goal is and how to utilize a goal efficiently, you're not going to have the same meaning as I probably would. So I want to shed a little bit of insight onto some of the different lessons that I learned, and I really hope you think about these and think deeper, not just, hey, I need to focus on goals, but say, what is a goal? How can I set better goals? For an example, so the first thing, again, was believing in yourself, having that motivation to be able to go on a TV show or do whatever it takes that you know 1,000% you're going to be successful and there's not 1 ounce of doubt in your mind. It's okay, some people doubt their self, but don't let that be the reason that's going to stop you. Focus all your effort, and as soon as you catch a negative thought, immediately wipe it out of your brain. So believing in yourself is extremely important. Again, next thing is sort of setting goals for yourself. So, when I was in school and first starting, my business, I knew about goals and, hey, set a goal to get there, but I didn't really know what a true goal was or how to properly set a goal. And it wasn't until I actually started learning how to set goals and keeping myself accountable to those goals that they really made a difference in my life. So with a goal, there's two things I want to talk about. So the first thing is you need to look at a goal as a minimum threshold rather than the maximum ceiling. I always used to set a goal, in the clouds and say, hey, if I fail this goal and I fall somewhere in the middle, I'm still going to be doing better than average. But in my opinion, I think that's really the wrong way to look at it. Rather than setting a goal arbitrarily just, to some random level, you need to set a goal that's attainable and achievable and something that you can keep yourself accountable to. So what I do now is I set for business, let's say, I'll set an annual goal. What do I want to accomplish this year? Then I break that goal down to 3 different quarters: January, February, March, April, May, June. So now I have it broken down into quarters. And then from that quarter, I break it down into months, and then I break it down into weeks. And all I have to do now is, once I set my goal and I put the proper amount of thought into that goal, making sure it was actually attainable and achievable, now all I have to do is focus literally week by week, day by day, and you can't control what happens 1 month, 1 year from now, but you can absolutely control what happens today and what happens this second. There's nothing more you have control over than this moment in time. So if you control every single moment of your life, don't worry about the big picture necessarily. Spend the time up front to develop that picture for yourself. But once you develop that picture and you put that, thought into your goal, all you need to focus on is day by day, week by week. And if that's all you do and you stay accountable to yourself, you're going to reach your daily goals, you're going to reach your weekly goals, which turn into your monthly goals, your quarterly goals, and your yearly goals. And it's so much more simpler now than I ever realized if you just literally set attainable and achievable goals for yourself and follow it day by day, week by week, month by month. It's a very simple formula for success. And sometimes the most simple things in life people want to overcomplicate, but do not overcomplicate it. I promise it's very simple. Just follow it and put the right amount of thought into those goals, and it'll be amazing what kind of success you can achieve. So again, look at your goal as more of a minimum threshold. Here's my goal that I want to achieve that's attainable and achievable. My real goal in my head is unlimited. As high as I can push myself. That's my ultimate goal. But the goal that I put on paper is the one that's attainable and achievable, because I know if I reach that, and I'll do whatever it takes to reach that, then you're going to reach those goals you set for yourself for the year. The next item is delayed gratification. This is a topic I think everybody needs to be better at, but it's one of those things where you're starting a business and you're starting to make some money, but then you see that shiny red car. And people say, hey, I want to go get that car. I love it. I have the money for it. I can afford it. I'm going to go buy it. Well, that's, instant gratification, and almost always instant gratification leads to unhappiness and a lack of success. It's proven, if you research and do studies, that the more you can delay a satisfying result, the more happy and more satisfying it will be. So even though you may be able to financially buy that car, that red car today, if you can push that, 1 year down the road and you buy it then, most likely you're going to be happier and it's going to be more fulfilling results. That's sort of the same with anything in business. The more you can, delay that instant gratification just because it's cool or it feels nice, if you can push that down the road and focus on what's difficult and what's hard, but what's better, the happiness will be there and those results will always come. The next thing is, in any business, everybody thinks about quitting. Everybody thinks about how hard it is. I have one particular story that, for me, I always remember. But it was when I first started the insurance business, and I was working out of that apartment with no air conditioning. I had a little fan out in front of me. It'd be 90 degrees. It'd be sweating my butt off. But I decided, every day I tried to take a little lunch break and just get out of the office for a few minutes. There's a gas station right down the road. So this day I went to the gas station to get a coffee or whatever, and my friend pulls in the gas station that I haven't seen from high school, and he had a brand new Ford Taurus, black, I think it was a Ford Taurus Show, the supercharged one, whatever. And, I'm talking to him a little bit. We're talking about business careers, and he's been working at a, local company. They're paying for his car. They're paying for his cell phone. The health insurance. He's got a good salary. He's got vacation time. He has all this time off. Taxes taken out of his paycheck. Easy. And I was sitting there working my ass off, trying to build my business and paying my own taxes, my own cell phone, my own insurance, paying all these things. And at that time, I was so easily influenced because I was still in those sort of raw stages of starting a business. I got back to my office and I'm like, dang, am I really doing the right thing? Like, should I just go out and try to get a job like he has, have a nice car, have health insurance, and have all those things? And I thought about, that was one example, but I thought about quitting so many times. I tried to get it out of my head when I thought about it, but everybody, especially in your first startup, you're going to think about quitting. You're going to think about how much easier it would be to get hired somewhere, or how easy it would be to do this or that. But it really comes down to why are you starting your own business in the first place? Are you starting a business because you want to be rich, because you want to have a nice car, a nice house, you want to have money? If that's the reason why you're starting a business, I'm going to tell you right now it's completely wrong. When I first started and I was young and I had no money, I wanted the lifestyle and the freedom, but I ranked money high on my priority list because I didn't have any at that time. But I quickly learned that the money is not what's going to drive you and push you through those difficult times. It's the freedom, the success, the choice to control your own time, the ability to choose to go to lunch when you want to rather than a boss telling you can take lunch now. It's all those little things and having unlimited opportunity that pushed me through. It's not the fact that you could make more money. And so you need to be realistic with yourself, and if you're starting a business, determine, is this business something that I am so truly passionate about, that I love, and that will change my life, or do I want to be rich? And if rich is your only reason, then you need to switch your business or think about being an entrepreneur all over again, because you're not going to go very far if that's your thinking. So now for me it's so fantastic. I got through that stage and I continued to push myself further and further until I got past those hard times. And I always knew, hey, this guy that I saw with a brand new car that has the company health insurance and the company cell phone, in 5 years, he's probably not going to be much further ahead. But in 5 years, I can be 10 times farther than I am now. So it's that unlimited, opportunity that you have as an entrepreneur that makes it so great. If I want to take a vacation and stay for an extra day, I don't have kids yet, but when I have kids, if I want to go coach their football team or whatever it might be, that's what gives me passion to have my own business, not the amount of money or things that I can buy. Another thing that sort of ties into that is determining for yourself what is enough. So many people are, motivational speakers, whatever, they'll talk about success and money and everything so much, but they won't talk about it on a personal level. So to me, to be successful, to have extreme success, you need to have a well-balanced life. If all you do is you make money, but you go home and you don't talk to your wife, you don't talk to your kids, you don't talk to your family, there's all this problems going on, you're not successful. Yeah, you have money, but what does that mean? So to have a truly successful life, you need to be the best at every single area in your life. That's your family, your kids, your wife, financial, business, anything, any goal. Maybe it's a fitness goal, healthy. Every single thing needs to be balanced and functioning for you to be truly successful. So I think what everybody needs to do, no matter where you're at, is to set for yourself what is enough. What is enough to make me happy? If you don't have, a limit or a threshold, what is enough for me, you're constantly going to be wanting more. So for me, I've already reached my goals as far as what is enough for me, what makes me happy. I'm a happy person even if I lived in a cardboard box. I may not be happy with my situation, but I'm a happy person. But you need to even financially, determine for yourself what is enough. And when you reach that goal, you should be completely fulfilled inside. Now me, even though I've reached those personal goals, I still have unlimited motivation, and I want to push that, that line as far as I can, because I love achieving goals, reaching new heights, and achieving success. Money just happens to be the measure of success in business. They say money is the result of a good business. A good business is not the result of money. So for me, if you could judge my success on a yardstick instead of cash, that would be gratifying for me, because I'm seeing that, that needle go higher and higher. So again, a lot of people have the false impression with entrepreneurship that money is the all, determination of success. But in my opinion, there's way more to that. And, I love pushing myself, and I encourage everybody to push themselves as far as you can go. But money should only be a byproduct of your success. Another thing I think really holds a lot of people back is fear. And I think that's, in my opinion, the number one biggest reason why people don't reach their goals. Whether it's a fitness goal or it's business or anything, people are fearful of difficult things. And I heard it once that the quote says, if your goals don't scare the hell out of you, they're not big enough. So if you're not scared what you're doing, if you don't have a little bit of fear, if it's easy, it's probably not worthwhile. You need to set a goal that's realistic, but that's scary because it's so big, and that's the only way to achieve massive success. So, and from what I learned, some of my most fearful moments in my life, to be honest, I was scared to get married. I was scared to push my business to that next level. But the most fearful things that I ever had in my life turned out to be the biggest benefits and most successful things that I've ever done. So if you're scared to push yourself to that next level, you have led yourself to something really good, and I promise you, if you push yourself a little bit further, that's when you're going to achieve success. Sort of look at it like somebody climbing a mountain. You may be all the way, almost at the top of the mountain, or 3/4 of the way up. If you look back, you might see falling rocks, and you get scared. People want to rappel back down. But if you continually focus forward to the peak of the mountain, and you go, even though it's scary, you're almost there anyways. Go a little bit further, and again, right when it gets hard is right when most people give up, but that's also right on the cusp of high success. So you push yourself just a little bit more, and you summit the mountain, you get over to the top, and looking back, the sense of accomplishment that you had is incredible. The more you get used to accomplishing goals, overcoming fear, the easier it becomes. I still, have fear sometimes, but I'm much more adept to dealing with fear and overcoming goals than when I first started. And things that used to scare me before don't scare me at all now. And it makes it so much easier to accomplish your goals and to get over fear when you've done it multiple times in the past. But that first go-around is very scary, and I promise, push yourself through that, and the success is right on the other side. So, and I think the last thing in this, again, this is my wife, Brittany, here. I think you really need to have the right spouse or support system or partner in your life. If you're hanging around negative people, they're always going to suck you down. If you have a negative person, somebody that's nagging you, somebody that doesn't think you're going to be successful, you are never going to get to where you need to go, or if you do, it's going to be much harder. There's so many pivotal moments for me that I was weary, that I was weak, that I was fearful. And if I had somebody that was talking me out of things or making me even more scared right at those weak moments, that had a high likelihood that could have brought me down right away. That could make all the difference. But if you have a support system, spouse, whatever it may be, that is pushing you ahead rather than making you fearful, right when you're at those critical moments and they're giving you that extra little boost, it has the ability to push you ahead and make you more successful than you thought you could be. So, I'm so lucky that I have somebody who supports me and believes in me, especially when the time is hard. But I encourage everybody, if you have negative people in your life, do as much as you can to get away from them. If they're family, do not talk about business. If you know they're negative about business when you're around them, don't talk about it. Talk about, your dog or whatever it is that you want to talk about. That's the only way to get rid of that. So sort of just, in closing, the title of my presentation was Entrepreneurship, Anything is Possible. And literally being an entrepreneur has changed my life. The farther I go as an entrepreneur, the more happy I am that I took this route in life, and I would never go back. And I think, really I encourage everybody to be an entrepreneur. It's so much easier than you think. If you just apply yourself, don't give up, and push through those hard times, you're going to be very successful. So thanks again for having me out. Mr. Kolskin, saw you at Brio and Crocker Park, and he invited me out here, so that was great. And thank you to my wife for all her encouragement, and I hope you learned something today. Sure.
So when you first got started, you mentioned licensing
Sure.
For your insurance business. Who did you go through to figure out what you needed in order to, legally get this business off the ground and get started?
Sure. So those forums I was talking about were, and I'm going to paraphrase that for you. So he asked, when I started my insurance business, how did I know what kind of licensing I needed, for compliance or whatever to get my business started? So to answer that question, those literally, if you go online and look at forums are so helpful. Whatever you're in, if you're in, car repair, go online, car repair forums, and try to find, and I promise you're probably going to find a forum on it. There's going to be people who are in that business who talk about it, and you can ask them questions. Another valuable resource is LegalZoom.com. You can go online, and that starts your, entity, an LLC or whatever it is that you want to start. If you can't afford an attorney, that's a great way to learn. But there's so much free information online in forums, and I'm telling you, forums are such a great way to get started. But try to just feel your network, research online, and you're probably going to have the answers. So for me, it was through a forum that I heard from other people what I needed, researching online, and with a combination of using LegalZoom maybe. I didn't go that route, but it's a good way to go. That's how I found how to get licensed.
I'd like to follow up on that.
Sure.
A good attorney, a good accountant.
Yep. When I started, I didn't have money for that, but if you can afford to pay an attorney or an accountant or legal advisor, that's absolutely the best way to go if the budget's there. So, go ahead. Yeah, good question. So he asked, when I became successful in the lead generation business, did I ever think about going back to the insurance business again? And actually sold my insurance business last year. But I thought about it, yes, but I chose not to because I'm not trying to scare anybody away from insurance, but for me, there's so much compliance and so many regulations to follow. And that's part of the reason why I like the lead generation business, because it was a lot more, controllable for me. And for me to be successful, or for anybody to be successful in any business, in my opinion, you need to have control of 3 different things. That's the quality of your product, the price of your product, and the way you market your product. And insurance for me had regulations on all 3 of those. I couldn't control the price, couldn't control the quality, even though I offered multiple carriers, and I couldn't control the way I marketed it. I mean, to a degree. There's so many regulations. So for me, I wanted to continue to focus on the lead generation business. But again, anybody thinking about insurance, it's a great way to go. You can have an awesome career at it, but that's personally why I decided not to get back into that. Sure.
Sorry, on the previous question, Ohio Business Gateway, my dad owns a business, I went that way, it's cheaper than LegalZoom, and it lines you up step by step on exactly what to do. So you start out with your tax EIN, you get your vendor's license by county, then you apply for your LLC, and it just kind of lines up exactly. And there's actually like a pamphlet that says how to start a business, and it like walks you step by step through everything, and you can do everything online, mail your check, wallet. So it's Ohio Business Gateway.
And that's through the state of Ohio. So you get everything.
And one of them is contact it'll tell you by your city or whatever. There's a business group that physically called me and told me, okay, you're doing this business, you'll need this, and this license. And they're right in the area, and they just conversate with you over the phone and let you know
Sure.
what you should be looking into, what to avoid legally and all that.
Great, yeah.
I
Sure.
really appreciate your message, your energy, and everything that you said about entrepreneurship. Very inspiring.
Great.
I can tell that it's something
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I grew up in, family. Almost every male member had their own business. Nobody funded me really to get started or gave me money or, fed with a golden spoon. Again, I mentioned I started at a masonry company building basements, sweating, getting cuts all day. So I was never scared to do whatever it took to be successful. And for the same reason now, I'm not fearful. I don't want to lose my house or my car, but I'm not fearful. If I ever had to go back to that stage because of some fluke, I'm not scared to do it over again. So I was always encouraged, I would say, when I was young, to have that, lifestyle and be able to make your own destiny. I would say, when I got married, that changed my whole life, honestly. I wasn't lost per se, but, conflicted in different areas. And when I got married, it was so much more clear to me what my life was about and what I wanted. Spiritual stuff, does influence my life. There's a lot of different aspects. I can't attribute my success just to one area, but, again, having something that you believe in and a greater reason than just money is what it takes, in my opinion, to be successful. So for me, again, it's the fact that I can work hard and, I can wake up beside my wife in the morning and sleep in if I want to, or, when we have kids one day, I can be their coach at their sporting events, go on vacations and spend my life on my terms rather than being told what to do. So for me, I think that's probably my biggest inspiration is, I love reaching goals, but it's that whole non-financial side, but having the ability to control your time, what gives me the motivation.
Okay, we'll take
Sure.
one more question.
Sure.
I was just curious, so these businesses, were they all sole proprietorships, or did you employ people?
Yeah, so the first two businesses were sole proprietorships now, and now we have 10 employees. We
That would be something that would sort of an inspiration for me, is to get going and to bring people on,
Sure.
other people opportunities.
Yeah, so hiring employees and stuff is a great way to go. We run very lean. As far as our business operation, we do as much as some companies that have 60, 70 employees, but because of the strategy that we follow, we're extremely lean and we're very select with who we work with, but that allows us to scale with fewer overhead. So one thing to sort of touch on regarding that is, if you can find a way to automate an area of your business without hiring somebody, as great as it is to hire people, I would take that route because it's going to be cheaper and more controllable. For example, when I was doing insurance, I invested in a CRM, a customer relationship management software, that would allow me to keep track of data. You could customize it to track your commissions and all those things. And I set up automatic email systems that whenever I got a new lead or whatever, I would send out a template email to somebody, or it would automatically do it. Or different billing processes. If there's a section or a portion of your business that you can find some way to automate, you're going to have more control, and you're not going to need to hire that person. You're going to save cost, and especially in a lean startup phase, that's extremely important. We got to the point to where we literally had to hire somebody because we needed another, more man hours. It wasn't things we could automate. But I wouldn't hire somebody to fill a solution, but rather try to first find a way to automate that and then move in that direction. Yeah. Thank you.